What are we doing, Sarah?
Good.
Gonna go tap maple tree?
Yes. I just had snow running down my mouth.
Wyatt! Are you having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, got your stick?
Yeah.
Yeah. And your tractor gloves and boots and hat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go tap some trees.
Drill it. We're gonna go in a little bit. Okay. Pull it out. Okay. 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 Now don't push. Just let it go in real slow. Okay, now. We're just trying to clean it up. Okay. There we go.
Tap, Mommy.
Okay, so I'm just sitting in my driveway right now, and Daniel had me go and check the, oh my god, I've been running. He had me go check the buckets to see how full they were, just kind of gauge, like, could we make it to this weekend before we have to start boiling down the syrup, or boiling down the sap to make syrup. And I come running up on like one of the buckets because it's pouring out right now, so I'm like running, and so I going out running up on the buckets, and I could see, like, because they're white, typically you could see like where the like water line is in them, I come up on it and the whole bucket's just gray, like it's just like a grayish color, like tinge to it. So I just thought, like, oh, you know what, the bucket's probably just gray. That's probably like it's just the color of the bucket. And he told me, he's like, you don't have to open them, just pick them up, So I go to pick it up, and I kind of like, just to feel it. It's full. And it is only 11:54 right now, so not even noon yet. It hasn't even been 24 hours. It's only what? I don't even remember what time we started tapping them. That was probably around 5:30 or so that we started tapping them. So yeah, hasn't even been 24 hours yet, and they're already full. So I don't know what we're going to do. We're supposed to go out with some friends tonight. I really don't want to have to cancel that, but what we may end up having to do is get another bucket or tub or something that we could just dump all the sap in. So maybe we'll just like dump all the sap in like a bucket and then call it good for the night and start boiling down tomorrow. I don't even know if we can tomorrow because we're supposed to eat dinner with his family. And I'm sure at this rate we'll have to dump them again probably by lunchtime tomorrow. They'll probably be full again by lunchtime tomorrow if we don't have too many freezes and stuff. So I don't know what we're gonna do. Yeah, so I'm gonna give Daniel a call on his lunch break, and I'm going to see if he wants me to pick anything up while I'm out tonight that we can go ahead and dump the sap, or the sap into. We're going to see what we do about this. So that night we ended up just going out with our friends anyways, and Daniel just said don't worry about it. So they just kind of sat where they were, and then the next day I went out and emptied all the buckets into bigger buckets. That's what you see me doing here. So what I just ended up doing was just taking 3 of these bigger buckets and placing them throughout, like, where we had the trees. So this here is like the trees out in the yard. I placed a bucket there, and then I placed the 2 other buckets in the woods. I placed one closer into the woods, and then one kind of further back into the woods, and that's where I dumped the syrup, or the sap, into. Okay, we made it to the woods now. Oh my gosh. So I figured out a different way of doing it because getting the lids off and back on was just taking out so much time. I really don't know how much time I'd be saving with this idea I came up with. But yeah, bud. But it saves me a lot of hassle. And like there is like a lid that's like literally impossible to get off that I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna have to leave it for Daniel and that one's just gonna have to overflow and that'd be unfortunate. But I figured out a new way and hopefully it's okay. Hopefully it's Daniel approved. I don't know if he's gonna be okay with the way I'm doing it, but this is the way I have to get it done if I want to get it done efficiently. Set this down so you guys can see how I do this here. All right. They're sitting on the buckets further in the woods. Okay. I'll go get the first bucket now. So I just kind of take it and the holes that are in the lids, I just let it pour out of the holes there. Like that. I thought this was so funny. Wyatt kept coming over and he kept sticking his hand in the sap and trying it and he was going, and I thought that was so cute and it reminded me so much of like Winnie the Pooh, like when he would stick his hand in the honey pot and eat the honey straight out of the pot. I thought that was so cute. So that's what it reminded me of and he seemed to really enjoy it. Also, his mitten was super sticky, and when it dried, it was like really crusty. So Wyatt was a little bit of a sticky mess afterwards, but that's okay. He still had fun. Yesterday, we had just pulled our taps from our trees, which means this concludes our maple syrup season. So this was our second year tapping trees. Our goals for this season for getting syrup, kind of basing it off of last year, how much we did, how much we got, you know, how much we yielded and stuff. We set a goal for like 6 gallons. However, we did not meet that goal. We only got like 3 gallons. And that's only because we only did it for like 2 weeks. And then my husband was like, I'm done standing out there over the stove every weekend, which is, it was only like 2 weekends, but he just was done. It is a lot of dedication and it takes a lot of time. I'm gonna have to get Charlotte. We good? We good now? All right, we're gonna have to continue this in a little bit. Okay, I'm back. It's probably been a couple hours, but I finally got her, I think, happy. Anyways, you guys can't see the top of my head here. Is that okay? Okay. Go outside. I gotta get them out of the package here. You gonna wait for me to get them out? You wanna go take it outside? Oh, so you're gonna be speaking in my video. I think I was just telling you guys, we did not do 6 gallons like we had hoped for, only because my husband decided to pull the taps, I guess, early. So we're hoping that maybe next year we can come up with something a little bit better. We did a little bit of a different style stove this year. We experimented with that. That was very successful. We liked it. So we're kind of thinking maybe next year we would love to like build a sugar shack. I don't know if we'll actually get to do it, but that is kind of like our new goals now, is to have a sugar shack. That way we can also have like our friends out there with us while we're boiling it down. We can have the kids out there, possibly like if it's depending on how big it is. Mainly because we would have like our friends come over and we'd all hang out, and it was fun, but sometimes some nights are just so cold. They're just really, really cold, and that's why like my husband's like, I'm done, because you're just standing out in the cold all day long. We actually had, I think the 2 times he did it, it was halfway decent, but it's still, I mean, he's the one out there doing it, so when he said he was done, then it's like, okay. I mean, I would love to keep going, but I'm not the one standing over the stove all day and all night, all weekend long. So maybe if we had more time and if we had a better setup, we would have gotten more syrup, but that's okay. We got enough for ourselves. It will last us. 3 gallons should last us maybe through the year. I've been putting it in my coffee a lot, so we'll see. Between me putting it in my coffee every morning and the kids liking it on just about everything. I hope that having your music on in the background doesn't get me in trouble. Maybe I should go mute it before I get like copyright or something. I feel like that would be ridiculous if her music from her swing got me like a copyright strike or something, but I don't want to take my chances. I don't know. Hi. Say hello to the world. Hello, world. Our hair's a little crazy, huh? It's okay. It's growing and it's fuzzy and I love it. I was actually very surprised, like last year when we started the whole maple syrup process. I was really surprised at how simple, and I guess I would say easy, but I don't want to like be dismissive and just be like, oh, it's so easy, you know, when everyone has their different levels of hard and difficult and all of that. So I won't say it's easy only because that's my opinion, and I'm also not the one out there completely collecting the big bucket of sap, and I'm not the one drilling the trees. I'm not the one standing over the stove either, you know. So until I'm doing it from start to finish, like all by myself, I'm not gonna say it's easy. I will say that the process of it is fairly simple. You know, it's just a matter of finding your trees and tapping them and then collecting the syrup and boiling it down. But I'll go into a little bit more detail with that. I'm not just gonna say that's all you gotta do. I'll kind of give you guys a breakdown of how we got started into it. So then if you guys are wondering like, how do you even start doing something like that? It's pretty simple, but you just have to be able to get started, I guess. So the first thing you want to do is obviously find your trees. I don't know how to tell the difference between like sugar maple, red maple, and all that. I probably should, but I just don't. That would be something to probably look into too, like, you know, Google more of, is to see how to tell the difference. There's so much stuff out there online about it. Daniel's about to come in.
Hi.
Hey, gorgeous.
Hello.
You see Daddy?
For $5 you got 5. Until it's $1 a squeaky. So if he gets one every couple
I don't know
days.
how, excuse you, I don't know how he knew they were squeaky, but he was begging for them, and I had it like this.
I think because they're in the dog section, so he smells.
Oh, probably. He's like, I smell squeaky. Hello. So the first thing to do is to obviously find trees. Now, if you don't have a bunch of property and at that, a bunch of trees on your property, if you like live in the city or just don't have trees on your property, like
Go to the city park.
Go to the city park, Daniel says. Yeah, you can go to the city park. Good luck with that. Go to the state woods, the
State forest.
state forest. What is it called?
State forest.
The state parks. State park, state forest. That's illegal too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tapping trees on state ground. If you don't have like a ton of trees on your property, like for us, we live in like the middle of a field almost. We don't have very many trees on our property to begin with. We actually found a neighbor and asked for permission to tap her trees. And that's always an option too. You don't have to have maple trees right on your property. You can, there's other things you can do, other options you can do is, you know, finding someone else that does and then working out a deal with them to be able to go and tap their trees. So that's kind of like what we did with our neighbor. So then the next thing to do and to find trees, hopefully you would find those like in the summer and fall when it's easier to spot them. And I guess also check to make sure your state and the area you're in even has maple trees. I don't know. Does everywhere have maple trees? I feel like everywhere should have maple trees, but anyway. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to gather your supplies. We did buckets that we got from a bakery around here. You can, it's not so just like food grade buckets, you could do it that way. There's so many different ways that you can do it. I've seen people use like milk jugs or water jugs. I assume they're water jugs, but you can use water jugs. You can line like connect all the lines together and like make, I don't know, some kind of like a one line kind of thing. There's so many different ways you could do it, so you just have to Google what's best for you, but I will leave links below. There's a really good website I came across. It's called tapourtrees.com, but I'll leave it linked below. They have a lot of great resources there, and just to kind of help people new to it out a lot. There's just a lot of good information on that website, but you can just Google different ways to tap trees and collect the sap and all that. Once you figure out your method of doing it and how you want to collect the sap and what you want to collect it into and gathering your supplies for it and everything, you can actually get your supplies at Tractor Supply or Family Farm and Home. That's where we got a lot of ours, right? We got a lot of ours at Family Farm and Home. You can order stuff on Amazon. I think tapourtrees.com has a lot of stuff on there too you can order from. So there's a lot of options there for that. And the next thing you'll do is you'll just, when the time is right, I think that all kind of varies on which area you're in. The right time to tap would be when your days are above freezing for the most part, and then at night when they're below freezing, so below 32 degrees, and then during the day above 32 degrees is what you want to look for. So when you start seeing that, that's about when it's just right to go tapping. And then the next thing you'll want to do after you tap your trees and start getting the sap flowing, you'll want to set up some way of boiling the sap down outside first. So you'll want to do your first boiling down outside, just because there's too much humidity that comes off of the sap. You definitely don't want to do it inside.
Some people use turkey fryers.
Some people use turkey fryers. That's what Daniel just said. Some people use turkey fryers. There's like a bazillion ways that you can do it. You can make it very budget friendly and do a very like cheap version of it. Or you can go very, very elaborate. There's all kinds of ways. Like very elaborate would be like reverse osmosis, right? Yeah. Or is there even more elaborate than that? There probably is.
There is. Reverse osmosis just takes, you buy an RO system, and then it takes the idea is if it's calibrated right, it will take 50% of the water out of the sap before you even start the boil process.
I feel like you should come over here and talk. There's a million ways that you can do it. So again, you'll just have to Google that and just see what can work best for you, especially with, you know, maybe where you're at in your area. Like if you're in the city, I don't know what the rules are for that, like starting fires outside and doing that sort of thing. I'm not really sure, especially fires that are extended for long periods of time. A turkey fryer, does that just run off of propane?
Yeah, so you use.
You can. Daniel's going to come and share some tips of ways that you can do sap boiling down outside. So Daniel, tell us. So what are the different ways that we can boil sap outside?
Well, if you're just starting out, the best way would be well, depending on what you're looking for, how we do it, we use a 55-gallon drum that we cut out, and we use 2 pans that I bought that are just the same as what a hotel's.
Like a roaster pan.
Yeah.
But you see like at banquets and stuff.
Yeah,
and weddings
so they're
and
6
stuff.
inches deep, and I don't know exactly the dimensions of them are, but basically just pick one that you want, and I think ours are like 18 by 24, but I'm not sure on that. And
just your standard roaster pan.
yeah, and so just the normal banquet ones, they're just 6 inches deep, and then we use 2 of those on top of a 55-gallon drum. And a lot of it's going to depend on how much sap you're pulling out of the tree. So if you only have 5 trees tapped with 1 tap each, you're probably going to be fine with just getting away with a stock pot on top of a propane turkey fryer. Woo! So we're looking at getting an RO system for next year. So this year we did roughly about 3.5 gallons of syrup. And so we boiled down roughly about 200 gallons to get that. And so by doing an RO system next year, that would take that 200 gallons down to 100 gallons, because it's going to take half the water out of the sap before we even start the boil process. So we're looking into doing something like that, because I spent close to 40 hours boiling sap this year, and that could turn that 40 hours into getting us almost 6 gallons of maple syrup. So it's just a numbers game. If you want to spend less time boiling and don't worry about spending, money is not that big of a factor into doing it, then, you can definitely go with the RO system right from the start. They make them anywhere they handle, 1 to 10 taps to up to, I've seen them where they do, reasonably priced ones do, 20, they're processing 40 gallons of raw sap an hour. It's just up to preference of who wants what. Yeah, there is a whole bunch of different ones. People use propane, some people use wood. We use wood because where we tap our trees, I can cut wood, so we have unlimited source of firewood to use to burn it. But for some people in the city or whatever, fires might not be an option, so they do it on a propane turkey fryer, on a gas grill, whatever you got, basically, to get water up to a boiling temperature.
Like Daniel pretty much said, there is just a ton of different ways that you can boil sap down outside. You can probably finish the sap off outside as well. I would assume you could. I don't see why you couldn't. However, we boiled it down to a certain point. We boiled it down to, like, I think he said to, like, most of that water content was out. We would take a very similar, like the same kind of roaster pan, just not the one from outside, but we had one inside. And we would use that over the stove top and then pour our sap into there, and then we'd finish it off inside the house. So that when you finish it off in the house, when we had a hydrometer, or I think that's what it's called, is a hydrometer. And it's just like a tool that you can use. I'll insert a little clip of us using it so you guys can see how to use it. So we have here our boiling syrup that's about ready, right?
Yep.
Okay, you kind of tell us what you're doing here.
So I'm just going to take a reading with the hydrometer.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah. I
Very
think it's
fine.
CDL is the brand of the hydrometer.
We'll leave it linked below.
But anyway, so this is our first year using the hydrometer, and last year it was just a lot thinner. But anyway, you want to fill it up till it's like 2 inches from the top. Then I just hold it right over top of the pan. And you just set this in real slow. And you'll want it to float.
And how do you know if it's floating?
So right now we're at about 58 on the brick scale. You want to be 59, that's where the red line is. So if you buy the right one, it will have a line already ready there for the sap at boiling where you want it to float. but it will go down. If it's not ready, it will go down and be down way lower than that. And then if it's overdone, it'll be way above the line. So you want it to float right at the line, which we're almost there. It's just got a little bit longer to go.
Okay.
So we'll just pour that back in, and then in between each time of checking, seen on another YouTube video where you got to rinse this off with hot water.
Ignore the dishes in the sink.
Because if you get a lot of the syrup above the line from it being too low in the sap, it will add weight to it and you'll get an inaccurate reading. And then you want to store it in a jar of warm water, so that way when you put it in, you're not shocking the glass too much and taking a chance of cracking it and shattering the glass. So, right there's the 2 lines.
Okay. 2 means it's positive that it's maple syrup.
What's that?
I said 2 lines. 2 pink lines mean it's positive it's maple syrup.
Yep. In about 9 minutes, you're gonna have a baby jar.
There it is, folks. So that's how you use a hydrometer. It's pretty simple. We like to finish it off inside the house because then we had the jars in the house and everything was ready to go. And then usually by this point it was like dark outside. We would finish it off in the house. You get the jars hot, and you make sure you start with like clean jars, clean sterilized jars. We get them hot in the oven, and then you can get your lids hot as well. Make sure you're using new lids, and make sure you check your jars. Make sure there's no like cracks or chips on the top of the jars. And then again, you'll just want to make sure you use new lids with like no dings in them. And then again, when you use you can use old rings, but you'll just want to make sure there's like no dings and dents in them and stuff. That's anything that's going to affect the seal of the jar. You can get the lids hot if you want. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, we didn't really do that, but what we did end up doing was we would pour the liquid in, and then we would tip the jar upside down on the counter for a little bit to get that lid hot. I don't know, Daniel said it was something to like sterilize it. I think if your lids are clean, that's good enough. That's what he would do. So you do want to start with like hot jars though, or else you could take a chance of like cracking the jar if the jar is cold and you're pouring hot liquid into it. So you just don't want to do that. But that's why, you get the jars hot, because it also kind of like sterilizes them too, I guess. So once you jar it up and put the rings and the lids on them, you just leave them on the counter for about 24 hours till they all seal, and you'll know they seal because the little button in the center, I don't have one lying around here to show you guys. There's like a little button in the center, and if you can push it down, it's not sealed, and then when it seals, it just kind of sucks it down, and then it should not bubble or move on the top of the jar. So then once your jars are all sealed, then you'll just want to remove the rings off of them, because you'll want to make sure that the jar stays sealed. It wasn't just like the rings holding the lid down. You take the rings off, and then you label the jars with maple syrup and the year, the date and everything, and yeah, and then you just enjoy it. You just pretty much keep repeating that same process until you get as much maple syrup as you want. Something else you can do, so we put our maple syrup into quart jars. That's how we bottle it, especially because it's just for us. We don't get fancy with like fancy bottles like you see in the grocery store or anything like that. But then what we do, so then we have like better control of it when it comes to like pouring it out for like my coffee or for breakfast or whatever. I'll show you guys what we have. So this is what we use now. We just got this at the store, and I think you could probably get them on Amazon as well. But it's kind of just like the kind you see in diners. I love it. But this is what we use. We just pour our quart jar, or it doesn't fit a whole quart obviously, but we'll pour from that into this, so then we can have something to dispense it with. So that's how we do that. Yeah, so then when you're all done getting as much syrup as you want, or if the season for doing, like when it just completely warms up and it's warm during the day and warm at night, then it's just time to pull the taps. Hi.
She was all terrified when she looked around and see her
Oh,
mom.
she woke up and I wasn't there. Oh, I'm here. So then once you get as much sap or as much syrup as you want, or the season changes and there's no more syrup to do, or no more sap running out of the trees, then you just simply just pull your taps and just, I'd probably clean it, you know, clean your stuff and just store it away for the year. And it's just really simple. So I'll leave some information linked below in the description. I think that website, the Tap Our Trees, or I don't know, forget the name of the website, but anyways, I'll leave that link below because that was a really good resource. I feel like it had a lot of great information on there, especially for beginners. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video inspired you to want to go tap some trees, and that it just kind of takes that fear out of doing it, because I know before we actually did it, I never really thought we would ever be able to tap trees, honestly. I had no idea how to do it, and it just seemed like a very intimidating and confusing kind of process. My husband did most of the research on it, but then it was like, once we started doing it, it's like, this is very simple, very easy, and I think it'd be cool to see more people do it. I hope if you're someone that's out there that maybe didn't know how to do maple syrup before, that maybe this video would help you and kind of give you some motivation, some encouragement to go ahead and do it. So yeah, so that's all I have for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe so you can see more, and give this video a thumbs up.